Recently, I'm sure you've heard the entire DLC roster for Jump Force was leaked. The leak was pretty much non-disputable. The only way that leak ends up being wrong is if Bandai deliberately planted files in the game for us to find, which would be a very bad business practice. You can go check out my videos on the subject, I'll leave a link to them in the description. But the DLC roster is not the only thing we can get from the game files. There's actually some other information I've seen some people glancing over, so I wanted to dedicate a video to it. The footage I'm using in the background of this video is provided by Mizumi. Please go check him out. He's a talented modder and data miner who deserves your attention. But what I'm going to be talking about today is Kane, Galena, and Prometheus. This is the first time I've actually mentioned Prometheus on this channel, and it's because he is a big spoiler for the story mode. So if you don't know anything about Prometheus, probably want to click off this video if you intend to play the story mode. Unfortunately, there's no way to do this video without talking about Prometheus, so Prometheus, the final boss of the game. In the past, Bandai Namco has specifically tweeted about Kane being a playable character in Jump Force. On top of that, PS360 said that Galena would be playable. I don't think he would tweet this without inside information. He had screenshots of Galena that had never been seen before, and they were from the perspective of the player, so Galena was almost definitely playable, and if they're both going to be playable, Kane and Galena, I think it's fair to assume that Prometheus would be as well. But after loading up the game on the 12th, we noticed, of course, that Kane and Galena are not playable. So what's the go with that? In fact, since then, Bandai Namco went out of their way to delete their tweet about Kane. I don't know if PS360 deleted his tweet, but regardless, I don't think it's important for the video. Some people have given up hope for Kane, Galena, and Prometheus. Most people think they're not coming to the game at this point, but despite Bandai Namco deleting their tweet, I think I've got some pretty good evidence to suggest that Kane, Galena, and Prometheus will be playable at some point in the future. Now, of course, there's no actual confirmation of this, it's purely speculation on my part, but I am going to lay out the evidence in this video, and you can decide for yourself whether you think Kane, Galena, and Prometheus will be playable in the future. On the first patch of Jump Force, we found game files referencing missions. These missions I'm talking about are specifically named The Art of Ability, and then insert the character name here. We've actually already got these missions in the game, but what we noticed is that some of these missions don't currently exist in the game. If you don't know what these missions are, they basically grant you abilities based off the character. So for example, The Art of Ability Zoro rewards you with 1080 pound. But these mission files also feature characters that, of course, don't currently have the Art of Ability missions because they don't have abilities for creator characters. Jotaro, Dio, Ryo are all referenced in the game files as having these missions, but currently don't have them in the game. But there are also these same exact missions for Kane, Galena, and Prometheus. Now, we don't know for sure if they were just cut from the game, or if they were intended to be playable, or they are going to be playable, but at the very least, we know there was intentions to have them be playable, or else why would these missions exist in the game? Also, again, you might have noticed the footage in the background is of Kane, Galena, and Prometheus being playable. This can be done on PC through some mod trickery. It's actually technically not modding, you just trick the game into thinking that these are selectable characters. The interesting thing, though, is that Kane, Galena, and Prometheus already have player icons and pictures in the loading screen. On top of that, they have intro dialogue that is fully voiced and everything, which they should not need unless they were supposed to be playable characters. On top of that, they already have programmed assists. By the way, Prometheus assist is fantastic. But the big thing that convinced me at the end of the day was actually the memory of the game files on PC. If you'll remember, this is how we got access to the 9 DLC characters, or we got access to their names at the very least. Well, in that same file, we see EJ5 character ID : Kane boss, and then the same thing for Galena boss and Prometheus boss. But the interesting thing is that in a separate part of said file, this time above the DLC characters, we see EJ5 character ID Kane playable, EJ5 character ID Galena playable, EJ5 character ID Prometheus playable. We already know our first DLC character is set to release in May thanks to the V-Jump scan, but I find it odd that Kane, Galena, and Prometheus were so far in development. For this reason and all the other reasons I laid out in this video, I'm pretty sure that these characters will be playable in the future, because regardless of whether they were intended for the base roster or intended to be released later on, it's clear that these characters were pretty deep into development. They wouldn't have intro dialogues, they wouldn't have fully complete movesets, they wouldn't have assists, they wouldn't have profile pictures, they wouldn't have separate character IDs for being playable and another character ID for being a boss. And personally, I would be very excited to see Kane, Galena, and Prometheus added to the game, especially because I love Galena's design. I think it's really cool, and I would be very excited to play that character. I'd be less excited to play Kane and Prometheus, but I'm sure they're going to be a ton of fun. I've been experimenting with a lot of characters on the roster, and what I've noticed is that no matter who I play, I'm having fun in Jump Force, other than a few exceptions. Let me know what you think about Kane, Galena, and Prometheus being playable. Do you think it's going to happen? When do you think it's going to happen? I think it's going to happen sometime between now and May, but I could see it happening literally any time between now and whenever Jump Force is dead. They could be the last characters added to the game after the DLC, who knows? But if I was to speculate, I would assume that they're going to be added after, or sorry, not after, I would assume they're going to be added before our first DLC character. I want to thank you so much for watching the video. Again, go subscribe to Mizumi. He does a ton of awesome work. If you're not going to subscribe to him, at least go follow him on Twitter because he drops information on there. If you could leave a like on the video, it helps share around the information, which is pretty important because I think this is very valuable information. Subscribe to keep up to date with future content. My name is Bilbsy, and I'll see you in the next video.